Hi, my name is Ellie Brocklehurst, and with me today is my beautiful friend and co-host Beck Nadalo, and together we are full-timers. As two working mums with small children and hubbies in tow, we've come to the realisation that the best way to define us and a lot of people out there is that we're full-time. Full-time mums, full-time wives, full-time employees, friends and daughters. And with all that full-time comes with it a lot of weight, obstacles and constraints, but also a lot of great opportunities. We've been searching for somewhere to validate our feelings about what it takes to be a woman in today's world. So rather than continue that search, we thought, let's start it. Welcome to the Full-Timers Club.
Hi, this is the Full-Timers Club. I'm Beck.
I'm Ellie.
How you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm really excited for this episode. I think it's a little bit of a different one, but over the Christmas break, I think this is something that we were texting each other about, and I was maybe it's observing a lot, reading a lot, feeling this, and it just made me feel like I wanted this to become a conversation starter for us. And actually, when I was in London last year, I had lunch with someone, and he said this quote, which is something that I've always thought about, which is comparison is the thief of joy.
Ooh, nice.
Deep.
I like that. Yeah. That is deep. What kind of lunch were you having?
Actually, it was with JP, our old boss.
Oh, okay. That makes so much
sense. And we
sense.
sat there for about sat there for about 3 hours.
Of course you do. You never can get out of a lunch with him less than
totally. And it's like we just sit there and discuss the world's problems, and we talked a lot about this, of how I don't know if it's a life stage thing. I don't think it's a female thing, although I think it's amplified by women. Mm-hmm. It's certainly amplified by social media. And then when I went home at Christmas time, I either witnessed this or I felt it a little bit myself, which is we're at that point in life where we compare where we're at, or we compare our lives with other people's lives.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And you almost use, whether it's other people's lives or what you see that they have or don't have, or what you see others have and you don't have, you use it as a benchmark to either judge yourself or gauge how well you're doing at life, I guess. Some people use it as a thing with like motherhood. Am I doing enough? Am I not doing enough? But you're constantly comparing yourself to others. And I think social media has amplified this even more because you get a window into people's lives. They suddenly feel more attainable or accessible, and therefore you're constantly like, oh, they have this and I don't have that, or whatever it might be, or, that person lives here and look at their house but look at mine, or whatever it might be. Yeah. And you potentially feel this more and more when with success, because it's like you get one thing and then it's like, okay, what's the next thing? Or you might achieve something, but then suddenly you see what others have, and then it you're like, okay, on to the next thing. And I just felt like this was a topic that JP and I talked about it for a long time, and I felt like it was something that I'd love to chat to you about and hear your perspectives. And
so what is it about? What comparison is it for you that you feel most uneased about? What's the thing that really makes you feel like you're comparing yourself?
I don't know if it's one particular thing, but I think it's a lot around, like, I don't feel it from a motherhood perspective. I feel it very much from a career of like where you should be at in your career.
Interesting.
And actually it's funny because I had someone recently I was talking to who was saying, all of my friends who I used to work with in this particular agency have hit this level in their career, and I'm still here. And I was like, yeah, okay, that itself, that is a classic example of like comparison culture. We're using others to benchmark our own successes in life.
Funny, because I look at you and I'd almost do like you're that for me. Like, not that I compare myself to you, we're in completely different roles, but I feel like you've achieved so much at a very young age.
Yeah, I don't feel like I haven't achieved a lot, but it's like you just compare to others. Yeah. Or it might be, and this is something I feel like very much when I go home, there's a sense of comparison of like where people live, how much people earn, how big someone's mortgage is, what car they drive, what handbag they're wearing or using, whatever. And it's not just at home, but in Singapore as well. And I feel like there is very much, and it could be, again, it could be a life stage thing, or even like we're going through the process of what school should we send our son to, and it's like, and I think it's a really, like, I think it can be a powerful motivator, and I think it can also be like the double-edged sword of like being a dangerous thing as well.
Oh, it's definitely dangerous. I'm definitely of the motherhood thing.
How so?
So I've said this for a while that, you know, we have wonderful help here in Singapore. And so the thing for me that makes me feel like I'm really being like a good mum is cooking for my family. So meal prepping, like I spent all Sunday in the kitchen almost just like preparing kids' meals, preparing my meals, like just for me, the barometer of me being a good mum is how much I like feed my family.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that.
And I think particularly towards the end of last year, I just felt really inadequate in that space. I just felt like I wasn't doing enough to meal prep. I wasn't doing enough healthy food options. I was relying too much on, you know, just buying something in the supermarket because it was quick and it was easy. Like I just felt like I got to a point where I mean, if you go to my Instagram and you looked in my saved folder, I literally have like meal prep, and it's just like this is hundreds. Yeah. And it's, again, goes back to what I said last week around I want to have good intentions to do these things, but, you know, things go on the way. But for me, the comparison is that, which kind of sucks. Like it makes me really sad when I think about it because I know I'm a good mum. Yeah. And I don't like that somebody else who's trying to help other people be good mums is making me feel bad. Yeah. Even though that's obviously not their intention. And really, if anything, they're doing the best thing for me, which is to teach me. Yeah. But my own perception of that is that they're just making me feel inadequate.
I mean, I guess this is the classic thing around like, I can't even remember what the trend is. Trad wife? Yeah, trad wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, traditional wife.
Yes.
Yeah, get back in the home, kind of learn how to cook.
Yeah, and these women who are portraying these lives where it's, I don't know if it's real or not, and this is the whole problem with social media, but where they're like the perfect wife and they have a beautiful home and these children who are beautifully dressed constantly, never have avocado and Vegemite on their faces like my son does. Yeah. And as a result, women are comparing themselves going, well, if they can do that, why can't I? And then feeling like inadequate or like shit because there's a disparity between what they perceive themselves to be and what they see these women to be.
Like if I see any more mumfluencers telling me that you can meal prep in 1 hour, I'm sorry, where are your children? Because like I rarely get like 15 minutes before one of them comes up for something. So it's not realistic. And like, you know, Will and I had a bit of a kind of frank conversation because he was like, you know, you being in the kitchen is taking away from the children, which I get. But it's funny because for me, being in the kitchen is my way of giving back to my children. So I'm kind of like,
damned if you do and damned if you don't.
Yeah. And like for actually this last weekend was such a joy to be in the kitchen and watch my kids play with each other. Yeah. First time in probably the longest time. Well, actually the first time ever really that they just like, you know, they had their little language and they were doing their little playing and I was like, this is so lovely. I've never experienced that. So I know it sounds old school and maybe very traditional, but to me that is the thing that makes me feel like I'm giving back to them is that. So
okay, so you feel like the pressures are more so coming from less about comparing – is it about comparing yourself to others or more like the expectations you're setting for yourself and then you're not living up to your own expectations?
Yeah, and just I guess it's not it's comparing the reality of my reality and their reality. Like I just – you know, I look at that and I don't get like what am I not doing to not be able to do that? Am I just not – setting myself up right. So it's you know, and it is the FOMO culture. Yeah. Right. And even though it's the fear of I'm not missing out on what they're doing, but I feel like I'm missing something by something they're doing.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. You know, you're missing something.
That
And I think, you know, there's so much that people talk about with this topic, but it's like as soon as you realize this, I think you liberate yourself from that FOMO, which is social media is just a highlight reel. And everyone knows this. And we know it. But it's like we forget that.
But they're so pretty, right? It's intentionally designed to look beautiful.
Of course.
And so that's just, you know, like
I read something.
Me in the kitchen looks nothing like them in the kitchen.
But I read the other day that for every selfie that is posted, there are 10 photos that have been taken to try and get to that. And I bet it's even more than 10. I guarantee it's more than 10. But that's just the classic example of everyone posts the highlight reel and no one's getting the behind the scenes. So actually what you see on social, what you see, people posting is very rarely ever the truth.
Yeah.
And I think as well that's just not about like, photos without cellulite or the beautiful home-cooked meals and the shit that's actually behind the kitchen. That
Or the kids don't even eat them.
Yeah,
Shit,
totally.
can I tell you the amount of times I've cooked for these kids?
Yeah, and they don't eat it. But I think it's also, you don't know what goes on behind closed doors, whether it's a marriage, whether it's financially, whether it's, someone might portray a really beautiful, happy life, but there's something that sits, but like we just don't know, and hopefully there isn't, because we don't want that for anyone. But I think this whole comparison culture is so dangerous because you don't know the full picture of what people are going through, and therefore you're comparing yourself to a false reality rather than apples for apples. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but interesting because yes, from a social media standpoint, but from the reality standpoint of when you're back home, right?
Yeah,
that was real.
It was real. And it's those times when you actually do, like, everything might be roses and then you catch up with a friend and
the reality
you see and then you're actually like, so how are you? And that's when, they're like, oh, fuck this or that,
true.
or,
That's true.
and then, those are sometimes the moments where I think to myself, it's not that I was comparing, but it was more like those are the moments when I realize why it is so important to, rather than have envy, have empathy. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And I think this is
that's nice.
I feel like I'm having this moment of realization, or maybe this is wisdom that comes with
age.
With age, so I know we're just so old, aren't we? But it's just such a big thing that I'm realizing, and more, And I think as we go into 2025, I've talked about gratitude being one of the key values or themes or whatever we want to call it. But it's like, rather than having envy, have empathy. Rather than being jealous or comparing, be like, that's fucking awesome. Like even if, that someone is richer, more successful or whatever, be like, go you, that's awesome. Be happy for that person, or use it as inspiration. But rather than, like reframing negative feelings into positive ones.
Yeah. I mean, for me, with the parenting thing, I guess it's finding the time to do it. And then just not be sucked into the fact that this person's doing it very quickly and it's not going to be like that quick. But I'm just trying to think of what would you say is, I mean, the solution in my mind is get off social media.
Or just don't believe it.
Just don't believe it. Yeah. It's a catch-22 because I love what I learned from there.
Yeah.
Like I found this amazing veggie orzo
I don't
recipe.
think you should get off it. It's just being more discerning with what you take in from it. Maybe.
I have to say what I have started following is this wonderful woman, Real Little Meals. Have you seen her on Instagram? You don't really cook.
I don't really follow mum stuff. And I don't cook. So.
You know what we should do for a day is just swap phones and just see
what you see. You
and
definitely
you
don't want to go through mine.
Mine's just full of mums. But what she does, which I really like, is she does each post is a meal. Or like it'd be like three tips for getting veggies into your kids. So it's not you're watching her do it. It's just physically, you're smiling because you think this is so boring.
No. I mean, no, but I'm laughing because I bought a cookbook when I was home and I made one of the recipes. You know how it's like prep time 10 minutes, cook time 15 minutes.
Bullshit.
I was like an hour into this thing. I was like, that's bullshit. This has taken me an hour and you promised me 25 minutes. Yeah. You need to put I know sometimes they have like skill rating. Maybe I just need a cookbook for useless people.
Just do the what's his face? The English guy. Jamie Oliver's 30-minute meals.
It was one of those.
Oh, I see. Okay. I mean, he is like a trained chef, so it's probably unfair.
I mean, it takes me like a good 15 minutes to julienne a carrot, so.
That is hard, actually. No, I get that.
Yeah.
Put little fingers in.
Yeah. And I couldn't find the mandolin and I mean, these are the big problems, right?
Isn't the mandolin...
Is it a mandolin? No. I'm pretty sure a mandolin's also the cutting thing. You get like...
Isn't that a mandolin?
What am I saying?
I think, is there not like a guitar? It's like an old Italian...
The guitar?
Yeah, like
So then what's the... It's not a Madeleine because that's a
No,
French dessert.
That's the yummy dessert that we always have all the time. No,
then what's
it's a
the cutter?
mandolin. Mandolin, maybe.
What am I saying? Mandolin.
Yeah.
Mandolin.
You know what?
Mandolin.
This is great.
We'll
chat.
get back to you guys.
Yeah, we'll figure out what it actually is.
We'll Google it later. But you know what I mean.
I did, yeah.
Okay, so as we go into 2025, let's not do these things.
Yeah.
Let's not compare ourselves to other people or other.
Or use the comparison for good.
Yeah, yeah, true.
I think you make a good point about if you see someone really successful professionally, aspire to be that, not be envious
or
of
just
that.
celebrate it
Or celebrate it.
and be like, you're
Or
amazing.
aspire. I'm all about like climbing that ladder.
This is your. I feel like this is your climbing the ladder year. I really do.
Yeah.
Because you're. I mean, I've talked about it in past episodes, like watch you go from strength to strength. But I feel like you've hit your stride. You've found a place where people, as they always do, naturally then end up gravitating towards you because they're like, I know Ellie's going to be useful and she can help me. And you've just, you've got a massive opportunity and potential ahead of you.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
I do feel somewhat. I'm really excited for this year. Like
I can see it.
I feel like good stuff is happening.
Yeah.
I'm really happy where I am in the company that I'm with the people that I work with.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. You know what? It hasn't felt like this for a while.
Yeah, and that's a really rare feeling, I think, in our industry because I think globally people are feeling a bit like doom and gloom, but I think advertising is such a negative industry because people are just a bit like, it's not what it used to be, AI, blah, blah. So for you to have that optimism is such a rare thing and make sure you don't lose that throughout the year.
No, I'll keep it up.
Yeah.
Keep it up. I will say that I think I want exactly what you just said and I've made this a bit of a mission for the people I work with is to change that perception. It is an amazing industry.
Yeah, it is.
I actually personally feel really privileged that we get to be at the forefront of like changing people's attitudes or making someone feel really good about something or, you know, I just think honestly creativity is the thing that can move mountains.
Yeah.
Like it's just, and to be somewhere where I genuinely think that some of the best talent in the world sits.
Yeah.
It's a real joy.
That's awesome. I'm very happy to hear that and very happy for you.
Thanks.
Cool. Well, I'm going to say that one quote one more time for everyone. Comparison is the thief of joy.
It's so good.
It is so true.
JP, shout out to you. Of course you come up with something
he did. I actually think
it's
it's an Eleanor Roosevelt quote.
Okay.
But anyway, we'll give JP credit.
Yeah, no, you should.
But I really think that is just such an important thing to remember as we go into 2025 and you know, for everyone who might feel those things or who does find themselves comparing where they're at in life, kind of mother they are, wife they are, how healthy their marriage is or how unhealthy it is, everything. Stop doing it because it's robbing you of being present and being joyful and appreciating where you're at in life.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thanks so much, Beck. I'm really glad you brought that up. I hadn't really thought of it until you brought it up. So I'm going to definitely do that. I'm going to be really intentional.
Good.
Word
be
of the year,
disciplined.
be intentional. And if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it and not let myself get affected by those that maybe do it better than me.
Yeah.
And maybe learn something from them.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Okay.
Awesome.
Well, thanks everyone for stopping by. I'm Ellie.
I'm Beck.
And this is the Full Timers Club. We'll see you next week.